How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And what a performance from Munster. Munster literally turned Leinster around, bent them over, and just gave them an absolute hiding like they had just stolen something. Munster put in such a strong performance, and Leinster just tried and tried and tried, but they couldn't break down Munster effectively. And defensive masterclass here. Defense, defense, defense. And they showed why such a good defense can also be a very good offense. So, guys, please like, subscribe. I want to break this game down because this was a fantastic game. And let's get into it. So, Munster put in a solid performance, and yeah, they gave up a little bit at the back end, ended up getting themselves a yellow. Scott Penny managed to bag himself a try as well, which was ultimately converted by Prendergast. But this was just pure masterclass from Munster. Munster really defended their absolute socks off. They were putting in the big hits. They were tackling like they tackled like every single tackle was their, like their life depended on it, and it really showed. Tadhg Beirne was an absolute monster, absolute monster. O'Donoghue was just like he was just tackling left, right, center. It's like you couldn't make this up. You really couldn't make this up because was it Wycherley? He got something like 20. Got something like 20 tackles himself. O'Donoghue got something like 19-20 tackles. Dan Kelly got something like 19 tackles. They were just tackling monsters. Leinster really tried. They really tried to keep up with Munster. They tried to break him down. They had the territory. They had the possession. They were offensively better. I think Gibson Park, he himself had something like over 100 passes by himself, but they just couldn't break down Munster effectively. They just couldn't break it down. They got into the lead early, like, yeah, brilliant, and they made some changes early as well, but Munster were just defensively strong. They just absolutely dominated. Jack Crawley put in a beautiful performance. Tadhg Beirne is just scary when he's on the ball. We tend to see him a lot more at lock internationally, but obviously I think a lot of times we forget just how good of a player he is because he can play that 6 so well. And yes, I think internationally he plays a little bit better as a lock internationally, but when it comes down to club, this guy at 6 is just destruction. Absolute destruction. And just to think, this guy actually went through a point where nobody wanted him. Nobody thought that he would make it as as a professional rugby player. And now it's like the guy, he's one of the best, forwards in world rugby. It was just absolutely ridiculous. But let's break down a couple stats here, right? So Leinster had 58% territory, 63% possession, 88% of possession in the last 10 minutes. Yeah, they did end up getting themselves a try on the last minute, which gave them that additional points. But they dominate when it came down to set pieces. 7 scrums, 16 lineouts. They won them all. And when we look at Munster, 8 scrums, 67% win rate, 9 lineouts. They did end up winning all of them, and all the restarts they won as well. But in terms of offense, right? So we already see in set pieces they Leinster dominated set pieces. We see that. Okay, in terms of attack, we have Leinster with 232 passes, 168 carries, 300 post-contact meters with 4 line breaks, comparing to Munster, 91 passes, 82 ball carries, 195 post-contact meters, but 7 line breaks. This shows a lot. They were able to make use of what they had, right? Because they weren't on the ball a lot. They really were not on the ball a lot, but it was those little moments where they made the most out of it. And they did it very well because it was key moments where they ended up getting those tries, which ultimately ended up giving them that boost, that that drive to continue. In terms of penalties, Leinster conceded 7 penalties comparing to Munster's 15. So not only did they barely have the ball, they were conceding penalties quite frequently and ridiculously. So we take a look at this. Even with this happening, Leinster still could not find the points that they needed to beat them. But this right here, this is where things really start to show why Munster managed to come with Leinster scoring so few points. The defensive work. It's that defensive work rate, right? So Munster had 241 tackles, 17 tackles missed, with a 93% tackle completion, in comparison to Leinster's 97 tackles, 16 tackles missed, with an 86 tackle completion. So not only did Munster have over double the amount of tackles that Leinster had, they only conceded one more penalty. They only missed one more tackle than Leinster did. So that shows just how dominant they were defensively. They were absolute monsters defensively, and it showed. This really, really goes to show with their line breaks, with that effective passing play, and even then, I cannot even say Munster were just like, they weren't making mistakes. They were just on it. They just put in a performance. They did the nitty gritty work that not many people actually like to do. They came in, they hit hard, they kicked a lot, and they defended like their lives depended on it. And that ended up getting them everything that they needed. Tadhg Beirne was an absolute monster. I mean, Coughlin, he came through as well. And like I say, yes, they did end up getting, Leinster did end up getting a late try. And it's lovely to see Scott Penny getting on the score sheet, but too little, too late. It's just one of those things. Munster ended up getting the lead. And it just went south from there. It really, really went south from there from Leinster, and it was just ridiculous. Because Gleeson went over on the 16th minute, right? And then you're thinking, okay, game on, 7-7. It's things are going well, and then Farrell comes through, and you're like, okay. Crawley and ends up converting. And then Coughlin comes in just before half-time, 5 minutes before half-time. And this is where it really, really set the tone, because now Munster are going in 21-7 at half-time. Going in at half-time, 21-7, with all of that momentum behind them. Big tackles, knowing that they can do it, knowing that they've rattled Leinster. And Leinster really, really tried. Obviously, it does help that Crawley ended up getting himself a penalty relatively early on in the second half, and that just kind of set them off. That set them just that little bit better, right? And then it was just those big tackles throughout. Frawley ended up getting himself a yellow on the 76th minute, Coombs on the 79th. Yeah, big moments. Obviously, that penalty try definitely did help a lot. It helped a lot. But it's too little too late for Leinster. 80th minute, Penny comes through with a try, but I was not expecting this. I really, really, really was not expecting this. Leinster did everything offensively very well. They went well, but they couldn't break Munster. They passed. They tried using routes. I mean, players. Leinster tried, but they were unable to break Munster. They just couldn't break down the defensive machine of Munster. And important moments mattered. Tadhg Beirne, like I say, put in a stellar performance. Just couldn't do it. So I take everything that I said back about Munster, because Munster gave Leinster an absolute hiding here, and I really did not expect that. Yes, Leinster haven't exactly had the most convincing start, and saying that, the Lions, and the Lions are back, and they should have performed. They should have performed better, but they did seem toothless. So, guys, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in relation to this, because I don't think anybody expected the defensive masterclass that was put on here by Munster. But yeah, drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.